What's up, guys? Welcome to Words and Wonder. So today we're going to talk about something very, very, very different. Very. Okay, no more politics. We're going to talk about something very, very different. So, have you heard of the story Betty, I can't go without my daughter? That story, right? So, that movie touched my heart, even though I'm not from Iran and things like that. I've never cried in my life after seeing that movie, and it's based on a true story that how two couples were so in love and had a beautiful daughter, and then as soon as they go to Iran, the couples changed completely, and the woman was outnumbered and her husband changed completely, so it amazes me that love does exist, but it's all about the culture. And how this documentary that I'm about to show, it's about the actual person who's dedicated this story to, that how her husband was so in love with her when they lived in America, but then when they go and he sees his family, and this movie was launched actually a little bit after 1979, in the early 1990s, I would say, 10 years after, right? So this was about Betty. And it's amazing how two couples are in love and what happened to them and how did their story change and the hell that the mother had to go through and her daughter. Let's take a look.
For Betty Mahmoudi and her young daughter, Turkey represented sanctuary. When they tried to leave neighboring Iran in 1986, Betty was condemned by her own husband.
He told me that he was going to lock me in the basement where I would never see sunlight again.
In 1974, Betty fell in love with an Iranian doctor, Saeed Mahmoudi, she'd met during a course of treatment in Carson City, Michigan.
When I met him, he had a British accent because he had studied English in London, but seemed very westernized to me. I knew he was from another country. I hardly knew where Iran was.
They married and eventually settled down in Alpena, Michigan. In 1979, a daughter, Mahtab, was born. But the same year, normal family life was interrupted by the Iranian Revolution. Moody, as Betty called her husband, became obsessed by Islamic fundamentalism, and in 1984 demanded the whole family travel to Tehran for a 2-week holiday. Betty shared her worries about the trip with her father's doctor.
Betty's father, Harold, was in the hospital in Carson City with colon cancer, and Betty came over to see him the evening before she left. We had a conversation that evening in regard to her trip, and she did tell me that she was very fearful of making this trip and really did not wish to go.
Betty felt torn. Refusing to travel would jeopardize her marriage, but she told her husband she was afraid that once in Iran, he would prevent her from coming home.
At that point, he said, "You're my wife. Give me the Quran. I love you." And he said, "I swear to the Quran that I would never make you and Mahtab live any place in the world against your wishes. I swear to the Quran we'll be back in 2 weeks."
The family traveled in August 1984. After 2 weeks in Tehran, experiencing the Iranian Revolution at first hand, Betty's worst nightmare comes true. As a woman, even worse, an American woman, she has no status of any sort. The man she had loved treats her and her daughter as possessions. Moody believes he is honor bound to prevent them from leaving.
I was in the bedroom packing, and that's when he told me that he didn't know how to tell me this, but we're not going home. He said, "You're in Iran until you die."
Betty fights back, but it's no use. For 18 months, she and Mahtab are kept as prisoners in their own home. Moody's family are their jailers. As well as her own safety, she is desperately concerned about seeing her father again. The news from Carson City is not good.
I didn't want to go to Tehran in the first place because my dad was dying of cancer, and we didn't know how long he had left. It was really important to me to get home before he died.
I was concerned that Betty's father was going to pass away before she had a chance to return, and we really didn't know what was happening. Of course, we had no idea that she was planning an escape at that time.
Escape is nearly impossible. Provoked by the Revolutionary Guards, anti-American riots are widespread. Mahtab is subjected to a daily indoctrination of hate.
Every day when Mahtab went to school, she was forced to scream in her words louder than she could scream, "Death to America."
Moody finally offers to let Betty visit her dying father, but without her daughter.
I was so torn because if I left, I would never be allowed to come back into the country and that I would never see Mahtab again. He told Mahtab that we were never going to see each other again.
Betty decides that escape is the only answer. But she cannot organize the escape alone. After months of cautious inquiries, she finds a sympathetic Iranian contact, Amal. The price of a one-way ticket home is $12,000, to be paid when she reaches America. After yet another bitter row, Betty makes her move. While Moody is working at the hospital, she gives her minders the slip by pretending to buy flowers for a dinner party.
The night that we left the house and went to the flower shop, I told Mahtab, okay, we have an opportunity to go to America. If we go to America, chances are you'll never see your father again. She said, no, I want to go to America. From that point on, she was my real partner. She did everything. She was incredible.
From the flower shop, Betty phones Amal. He gives her the address of a safe house across town, where they spend their first night on the run. Next morning, Betty phones Moody.
Hi, it's me, Betty.
She needs to buy time. She tells him that she wants to meet him with a lawyer to discuss the situation the following day. You come home right now, Moody orders. She stands her ground, refusing to tell him where she is.
Look, that's it.
Eventually he agrees. She has bought 24 precious hours before the police come looking for her.
All right, bye.
Amal has told Betty the escape plan. They must drive 650 kilometers, then walk across the mountains into Turkey. Amal arrives to collect them. 18 months after they arrived in Tehran, Betty and Mahtab scrambled into a nondescript car and start the most dangerous journey of their lives.
So after viewing this, I'm going to post a reel too, a little bit of the sceneries from the movie. I must say, I'm just going to say, this is a picture of me I posted in the intro, like I modeled in Pakistan very openly, nothing fancy. Nobody stopped me that why the hell am I wearing this dress or that dress, yada yada yada. But life in Iran, being a couple and falling in love, it's just, I give those females credit. How do they live? How do they survive? But man, it's a cave. You just got to get used to the Islamic Republican laws and how things go there. And people must understand that not every nation gives you that freedom. And like I said, that movie changed my life. That is the true colors of Iran, being a female from another culture fitting into the Iranian culture. And that's the true culture of Iran if you were to be married. And it's easy for females to marry someone who's from another culture because they feel free that way. But if a female marries an Iranian man, and God forbid he's ever like that, but if a female's marrying an Iranian man, then she has a lot of stress about her child. Will she get power over it? So it's amazing and sad, very, very depressing after I seen this movie, that just how two couples so mad in love and their marriage breaks apart into the Iranian culture. And I want people to learn from this. If you don't want to learn from politics, watch some movies and understand there is such thing. And that I wanted to share that today. It just touched my heart, and people to learn what's around. And please say your voices towards the Islamic Republic. And if you're a female and you believe in freedom, best advice I can give you. Take care, guys.